Yo, what's going on, gamers, coders, speedrunners, and all-around game enthusiasts? This is Joystick Justin here, and does this look familiar? If you were in my channel 5 years ago, you would have seen a Redstone Airship that looks kind of similar to this, and I am completely revamping it and making it a lot better and a lot easier to use. So the first part of this video is going to be me explaining Airship. Second part of the video is going to be a tutorial on how to build it, and the third part is going to be an explanation of all the redstone. So this is me showing it off. So here is the machine. So you sit in a minecart and the flying machine just kind of moves forward. And that's kind of why I call it an airship. It kind of just flies across the landscape. And then there's a cool feature where you can't actually get into the minecart until the flying machine reaches here. Then those pistons get removed, you can get in, hit the button, and you move along. And there's that same kind of system over here. So if I'm here and I'm waiting for it to come in, it doesn't, if it's not there, then I can't get in it. So I have to wait for it to show up, or I have to go to the other side, and yeah, so it basically stops you from being able to kind of go in and then fall, because right there's just a giant kind of hole where this thing is supposed to be. So once it arrives, that gets retracted, and then it opens back up and you move along. And so that's the machine. That's all there is to it. But it's really good because it can go really far, and you don't have to place, you use these resources, and then that's it. You don't have to place any like rails if you're doing like a minecart system. And this is kind of like similar speed-ish of minecarts, but it is kind of slower, but I think it's pretty cool. So I'm going to start the tutorial on how to build it, but first I'm going to make it daytime. Alright, so now for the tutorial. To start, you want to go up a bunch of blocks, and then I broke the pillar that I made, but for now I have this block right here up in the sky, and you want to kind of make it high enough so that it can go over the landscape. So that's what I'm going to do, and then place a U shape of slime blocks. Then take a rail, put it down in the middle of the U, put a minecart on there. And if you're doing this in survival, this is how you're going to want to go about breaking it. You want to go down one block from that first block that was placed, and then get in line and break the rail. So the rail doesn't have to be there, but the rest of it does. So next, place an observer like this, a sticky piston like that, terracotta, and then slime block, slime block, slime block, slime block, like that. So that's half of the machine done. That's where you're going to sit. Then the other half, that is kind of the motor, I guess, is going to be on the other side. So we're going to place a piece of terracotta there, slime block, and then slime block, slime block, slime block in a line like that. And here is going to be a slime block, and you want to place this observer before you place the piston, because it'll break all the system if you do it the other way around. And that is the machine complete. The last thing you have to do is add that redstone block right there. So this is going to get sent in that direction. So when you build this, make sure you're building it planning to go in that direction. Alright, and we're back, and now it's time to do the redstone for this station. So I'm going to put a line of obsidian there, and then this can be regular blocks, and then obsidian here. I'm going to put obsidian here. So these three, you want to place at least one of them. I'm going to place all three. So you want to do that before you place that block, or else this observer will get activated and it'll start flying in that direction. And then I'm going to just place the rest of this, so that's all that, and then this doesn't have to be obsidian. And then there you go. And then right there is where your button is going to be. I'm just going to expand this out a little bit further. And there you go. So right here, I'm going to break these blocks. I'm going to go down, place a block there, and then you're going to want to grab yourself some sticky pistons. So I'm going to just grab that sticky piston and place 3 sticky pistons in a line like that, and then place some blocks of iron like that. Then come over to your redstone block that's right here, and all you really need to do for this is run a line of redstone into these pistons that's powered by that redstone block. And that way, that redstone block moves with the rest of the machine. So these pistons will, when you set it up properly, they will turn off when it's here, and they will open up when it's not here. So I'm going to place 2 pieces of redstone like that. A block, on that block, place a torch, and it should turn off because your machine is here. And then run 2 more redstone, and that is the machine that makes it so that these blocks go up. And you're going to want to make a roof on top of that, and that way you can't jump over those very easily. And that way you can't get in when this thing is not here. So then from this button, the next thing we're going to want to do is run the redstone from that button. So what I'm going to do is go out 2 blocks from here, break that block, and right here you want to get a piston. And this might be difficult in survival, but that's what you're going to have to do. I'm going to place a block there, and then place a bunch of blocks just all the way along so that it can run redstone all the way from that button. So the button is on that block, so run your redstone all the way along here, and that block will power that piston. So do not press your button yet, because that'll send the machine flying. That's the station complete. That's all the redstone you have to build for this station. So I'll be back with the rest of the tutorial on how to build the station over there. All right, I'm back, so let's do this. So what I'm going to do is hit the button, but what you want to do is align yourself up here. So that's the block you want to line yourself up with. And then I'm going to go underneath that block, and so line it up with this, and then I'm going to just go in this direction. And so there's 2 options. Either go like this, and then break all the blocks behind it. And so what this is trying to do is it's going to stop the flying machine when it gets to where you want it to go. So these are your 2 options. Either place the obsidian there like that, and then hit the button, and it'll just come and stop right there. Or what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit the button, and it might break the first few times that you press it. But of course there are some blocks here, and there you go. So that block was probably a problem. So there you go. So that was a temporary block that we should have gotten rid of. And so what I'm going to do, instead of just getting that obsidian ready there, I'm going to place an obsidian when it gets to where I want it to go. So I think that this is probably far enough. You'll probably want to make it a lot further for when you're making it, but this is just the tutorial, so you can stop whenever you want. So you're going to want to stop it. This might be difficult to do in survival, and that's why I gave you the other option. But place an obsidian on that terracotta. That's how you make it stop. And then that obsidian has to stay there because it's actually used to make this system work properly. Then I'm going to place some obsidian there to kind of stop it. And then I'm just going to place a bunch of obsidian all around this. And then these can be normal blocks. And then these can also be normal blocks, and they don't have to be obsidian. And then I'm going to just do something like that. And then I'm going to make this obsidian just to make it kind of look consistent. And then that is kind of the platform that we're going to have on this side. You can explain this path. You can expand this platform, but just make sure that no obsidian blocks or any block blocks the path of the machine, and any blocks that are going to be directly beside us, the slime blocks, have to be obsidian. So then go from here. You go 1, 2, 3, 4 on the 4th block. That's your stone button. It's the same thing we did over there. And then here we're going to place a. I'm going to actually replace that with an iron block because that'll make it look more consistent. And I'm going to place a roof. It only has to go to there, but that's where it's going to be. So then I'm going to break these, and this is going to be our next piston, I guess, closing mechanism that blocks you from entering it if the flying machine is not here. So that's the piston setup. Now we're going to have to link these up to that redstone. All right, and we're back. So the next thing you're going to want to do is go underneath that piston and go like this, and place kind of 6 blocks like that. Repeaters, all of these repeaters are on 1 tick of delay. And then place your redstone setup like that. Then come over to this redstone block, place a block underneath it. That block was just temporary. And then there's 2 blocks there. Place redstone here, and then here that goes into a torch. So there's a torch there. And then we're going to link that up like that. You need to have a block on top of that. That is required. And then it goes over to there. And so what that'll do is when this redstone block is moved and this machine isn't here, then that'll run to this redstone and close up these pistons and make it so that you can't enter if the machine isn't here. Next, I'm going to link up this button to make this machine start going in the other direction. So the redstone for this is going to be kind of compact and kind of difficult to build, but you guys can do it. I believe in you. So you're going to want to place 2 blocks there and then break that block and replace it with a regular piston. It cannot be a sticky piston. And then break that block for now. And then I'm going to come over to this side, place a torch on the same block that the button is on. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to place some blocks like this. And boom, boom, like that. Then redstone torch goes there. And then we're going to run blocks that redstone is going to be on all the way to the piston over there. So I'm going to place redstone here, and then we're going to go down a block, and then this way, so it's 1, 2, 3 blocks, and then we're going to come this way. From those 3 blocks, we're going to come this way 5 blocks, and then right about here, you want to start going up. And then I'm going to place a block there so those 2 redstone don't connect. And then all along here, if you're playing on the Bedrock edition, the redstone will connect, but it's not going to do that on Java. So for Java, you're going to have to go like that and place 2 redstones there. So that's how you do it. And then that powers that block. And that block was not necessary. And so that repeater, it doesn't matter what the delay is. And then just place more redstone along this line. And then that connects the button to that redstone. All right, so now come over here, hit your button. And your machine is now working. So that's actually all the redstone for this machine. It's finished. You built it. Good job. So just one minor adjustment that you're going to have to make. This wasn't actually, it wasn't breaking. What you have to do is replace these redstone bits and put a block here and grab a redstone torch. Place it there, and then redstone there. Then you need another piece of redstone here, because that redstone block would actually break the redstone. So that's a minor adjustment you're going to have to make, and now the tutorial's. Alright, so for those of you who want to have an explanation of the redstone, here we go. It's not that difficult to understand. So you have this redstone block, and once it gets over here, the redstone block will be sitting here, which powers these 2 redstone dusts. And if the block that a redstone torch is on gets powered, then the redstone torch turns off. And the redstone torch powers this block the same way that that redstone powers this. So it powers this block, and then that goes along this line. And then these repeaters are just set up to split the signal between these 3 pistons. And it's really that simple. So when that redstone block gets moved, then there's no power going into this redstone, which means this redstone torch powers that block, and then it powers this line and powers those pistons. And so that keeps it closed, and then you can't really walk through here. You can't get through a 1 block gap unless you use like water tricks. And the exact same thing happens over here. So the reason why we had to change this a little bit, the reason we had to slightly change this, is because when that piston pushed it this way, we had a redstone dust right here, but when the piston over there pushes it this way, it breaks that redstone. So we have to have the redstone back here. So that's that. And then the same thing happens here. There's a redstone torch, makes it so that when there's the machine here, it will power this line. I'm going to set the time to day real quick. And then when you hit this button, it moves that redstone, and then the whole machine moves along. So the mechanism that we're using for the actual machine is very interesting. So the terracotta is very important. What's happening here is that even though that's a sticky piston, you realize that it extends but then doesn't pull the terracotta back. And that's because even though it's a sticky piston, it will not push, it can't pull terracotta. So that's an interesting thing about terracotta. It can be pushed, but it can't be pulled by slime blocks or sticky pistons. So that's why that's so interesting and important. So the next thing I want to talk about is this piece of obsidian here and why it's so important. So what happens is the machine comes along, and then when it gets to this point, this piston will try to grab and pull this, but the obsidian won't want to move, so it'll just get stuck here. And that's how this machine stops. The obsidian over here is kind of a backup to make the machine really stop if that doesn't work, but it should work 100% of the time, so that's really not a problem. And so the way this machine works is this part is, it gets moved back and forth. So when it's in this position, it's trying to go that way. Because this piston is, this piston right here is going to be pushing that terracotta, but it's not going to pull it back. But then this piston will go grab the slime block and pull it, which means that it'll go that way in that little explanation that I just gave you. But when you hit the button, it switches that. So it makes this piston push the whole thing this way, and that also updates it, which means it starts moving as soon as that push happens. And so when that push happens, it moves this terracotta here, which means that this piston is now pushing on the terracotta. So it'll push, and then it won't pull it back. And then this piston will be right here, which means it'll grab that slime block and pull it this way. So it kind of does that whole little thing over here. So I'll show you that. It pushed it that way, and then now they're pushing on different pieces. And so that's why that's so important. And that's it. It's really that simple. It's a very simple machine. The other thing to be wary of is that pistons can only push or pull 12 blocks in total. So pistons can only push 12 blocks in total. So let's look at this one, because let's just take a look at it like this. This piston is pushing that slime block behind that redstone and this redstone, and then that and that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's pushing 9 blocks. It's 3 blocks away from the push limit. But this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 blocks that this piston is pushing. So that's why if I add a block here, I'll actually add a block in a more interesting place. Like this should not be in the way at all, but that means the only difference is that I'll be trying to push 13 blocks. And so as you can see, it doesn't move. Now if something like this happens and it doesn't get updated, which that'll never happen if you keep the machine like this, but if you want to just update it, place any block on the observer that kind of ignites the system. So if I push that block on that observer, it'd be trying to push it into these obsidian, and it wouldn't work because pistons can't push obsidian. And that's why obsidian is one of the blocks in Minecraft that cannot be moved in any version. On Java, you can't move child entities, which means chests, furnaces, stone cutters, anything that has an inventory cannot be moved on the Java edition, but on Bedrock they can be moved, so that's why I'm playing on Bedrock to do this tutorial, but this will work in Java edition just as well. So that's basically the tutorial on how this machine works. It's very simple. It just basically, to change the direction, you just move this portion that way or that way, depending on which way you want it to go. So for those of you who just watched that portion of the video, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for having interest in this, and I hope if you build this in survival it goes well. And if you want to put in the comments any questions or concerns you have, do not feel scared to ask. I am open to any questions or concerns that anyone might have. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. As always, do not forget to keep on gaming.